This is lesson 2 for your resume and cover letters. We'll continue focusing on our resumes and how to build your resume. And there are different programs you can use in order to help you build and create your resume. Resume.com is one example. Also the Microsoft program templates. You can also Google resume images and recreate ones that catch your attention that way. All resumes should have certain information on them, and that's what we'll be covering next. You should always have your contact information and make sure that it is current. You need to have an objective statement or a sentence. You need to have a quick summary of your qualifications. And you should also list your professional experience and any education in which relates to the job that you are applying for. There are 2 sections to a resume. You have your abilities and you have your evidence. In your abilities section, you need to have powerful writing that keeps your HR managers reading. And you need to have a list of achievements that again relate to the job in which you're applying for. The second section is the evidence, and that's where you back up what you say with detail. Now let's go over each part of the resume that you need to have. First of all, you need your contact information. It needs to be large enough to see, but it doesn't need to take up a lot of room. When I say this, I have students many times turn in resumes for this project that have their contact information at 30-point font. That is way too big. Your font size for your contact information, 12 to 14, and that's it. Anything smaller than that, you run the risk of it not being looked at. Anything larger than that, you come across being unprofessional. Now hint, this is something that I do when I apply for new jobs. If you know the HR manager or that individual is expecting your resume, I make my name larger than normal because I know that that individual is looking for my name in order to read my resume. So at that time I may go 14 to 16 point font, but never anything larger than that. Or I may put my name in bold to help bring more attention to it. Make sure too that your contact information is professional. When you include your email, make sure that it is a professional email address. Your first name dot your last name is a professional name. Anything else could be deemed unprofessional, and it could put a poor image of you to the HR manager. So make sure everything that you put in your resume is professional. Your objective statement. This should grab attention and keep that HR manager reading your resume past that 10-second mark. This is a simple statement, and it showcases who you are and what skills you can bring to the company. An example objective statement is the following. Vice President of Marketing in an organization where a strong track record of expanding market share and internet savvy is needed. That tells me who you are and what you've done. And if that's what I'm looking for as an HR manager, then I will continue to read that resume. Summary of your qualifications. This is a quick section at the very top of your resume to showcase your abilities and special skills or experiences. Again, make sure this is at the top of the resume because HR managers spend less than 10 seconds reading each resume. And if you haven't grabbed their attention by this point, you may not get called for a job. Here are some examples and some directions on how to write your summary of qualifications. A short phrase describing your profession. You can follow that by a statement of broad or specialized expertise or experiences. One or more professional or appropriate personal characteristics such as hardworking, dedicated, or a sentence describing professional objectives or interest. Again, you don't have to use all of these bullet points, but a combination of these would be perfect. You'd want to follow in with your summary qualifications by a couple of other remarks as well. You can talk about the depth of your skills or your unique mix of skills, range of environments in which you have experience, a special or well-documented accomplishment. You can also include a history of awards, promotions, or superior performance accommodations, so long as they relate to the job in which you are applying. This does not mean that for your resume, if you received Airman of the Quarter, that does not have anything to do with your job in which you will be applying for. So don't include all of your achievements, only the ones that relate to this job that you will be applying for. Here is a sample of a summary of qualifications. Do you see in this example how they were able to put in so much information and make every word count? That is what you need to do for your resume. Make every word count. Everything in the summary qualifications provides interest and depth to the sentence. You will also need to list your professional experience on your resume. This is the history of your work experience. You should also list who you worked for, when you worked for them, and what your job details were and are. Your education. This would be the degree or degrees that you have earned, certificates, professional development. You should include with each of these the titles of the degrees, certificates, the years in which they were earned, and many times too you can include the credits that it took to earn the degree or certificates. Now, many people, when they used to write resumes, would put their GPA. This is not necessary anymore, because while education is something to be proud of, your GPA is not going to define how well you work. So do not include your GPA on your degrees. Now, if you graduated with an honors, you can include that title, but don't put your GPA numbers on your resume. Things to completely avoid putting into your resume. Your hobbies. Every single award you've ever won. Outside job activities. Or volunteer jobs that have nothing to do with the position in which you're applying for. For example, if I'm applying to be an accountant for a business firm, I'm not going to tell them that on weekends I volunteer to teach my daughter's soccer class, because that has nothing to do with accounting. So any outside activities that you do that make you who you are, but doesn't reflect on the job that you are applying for, leave them off. This is a nice example of what your resume should look like. Of course, you can reorganize things to best fit the resume style in which you need. But if you take a look, the contact information, it's easy to find. Your contact information should always be at the top of the paper. Notice too that the font isn't massive or tiny. It's just the right size. You'll notice that the statement of summary is right there below it. Very quick and easy. Then you have your summary of qualifications, your bullet points. This is the overview of the resume. Then you have the professional experience listed next, followed by the education. Now, depending on what type of job you're applying for, you can of course mix the experience and the education up. And that is to say, to put the education portion above the professional experience portion. This is going to be based off of the job in which you're applying for. So if they are more focused on that job posting on experience rather than education, then I would put experience at the top. However, if that job posting repeats the need for an educated individual, then I would put the education section on top of the professional experience section. This covers our resume lesson 2 on how to build your resume.